Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Kaylene Cornell, Health Education Coordinator for the Purchase District Health Department. Today we are going to talk about one of the physical activities you can do. We're going to talk about one of the sports I really like, and that is biking. According to the American Journal of Public Health, less than 2% of Americans cycle daily, and less than 1% achieve 30 minutes of physical activity on any given day. Today, just 13% of children ages 5 to 14 walk and bike to and from school. A dramatic drop from 1969 when almost 50% of children walked to school. As stated in the American Journal of Prevention Medicine, being a rural community, we often see a lack of sidewalks, lighting, and crossroads, which make an impact in how much activity we do. We don't have the privilege of having bike lanes as you see in larger cities. However, we are seeing the passion of biking grow in our region. Today, we're going to talk about a bike ride that is coming up in Ballard. And I have today in the studio two people that are going to help share the information about this bike ride. Brandi Earp, who's our regional epidemiology, and then Julie, who is from the Ballard County Schools. She is the community education outreach person. So could you tell me a little bit about what you do at school there, Julie?
In community education, we try and meld what's going on in the community with what's going on in the school and vice versa. Sort of a lifelong learning and opportunity sort of thing. And so one of the things that we wanted to do, we have so much difficulty with physical activity and health issues in Ballard County. One of the things that we wanted to do was try and help foster some part of a physical culture there. And I bike, like you. If I were a golfer, I'd be a duffer. So I don't, I'm not one of those 100-mile folks, but I love to get out and ride. And as you know, one of the things we talked about was that people think there aren't any places in Ballard County to ride. As you were talking about, there, no bike lanes, that sort of thing. But it's a beautiful place, low traffic, and so it seemed a natural fit.
Great. Okay, Brandi, how about you? Could you tell me a little bit about what you do at the health department and maybe give us a picture of what our area looks like?
Actually, I work with all the 8 counties in this region, and I help with disease tracking as well as gathering data. I've brought a few slides actually today. The first one I'd like to speak about is comparing, kind of seeing where Kentucky is compared to the nation. Here we start with a sedentary lifestyle, which was ranked with America's health rankings. This is basically adults who are reporting no physical activity beyond their regular jobs in the last 30 days. So limited activity, physical activity. And we can see that although Kentucky's not one of the 3 worst states or least healthy states, it is one of the few that are the least healthy in the nation. I also wanted to show obesity because that's related to here. Obesity, Kentucky in the nation is one of the least healthy reporting. So this was adults who were reporting, I think it was mostly adults who were reporting obesity in these surveys.
And one of the things that we do see with obesity is sometimes due to lack of physical activity, and if you have more of a sedentary, like the previous slide that you were talking about, if you have more sedentary time, you set yourself up for a potential of more physical illnesses and chronic diseases.
Exactly. So I just wanted to highlight those and show us where our state is just in general compared to the whole nation. And then moving on to the next slide, I wanted to kind of show a picture of just zooming in on Kentucky overall rankings and county health rankings. I just pulled from there, and how they rank the county, each county in the state. There are 120 counties in our state, and they rank 1 as the healthiest county, and those are shown on these graphics with the lighter colors, like the white counties are, the counties represented in white are the healthiest counties, and the darker shades are less healthy, the least healthy. And we can see here, even though Callaway is one of the healthiest counties overall in the state, that we kind of have some in between, and Ballard here overall, in the last rankings was one of the least healthy counties. So just wanted to point that out,
It really gives
little room for improvement.
Absolutely. It gives a true picture of where we are, unfortunately, and where we need to see some changes happen to improve our health outcomes.
Right, right. So moving to the next slide, I want to look a little more into this region specifically. Again, speaking about adult obesity, I have 2 slides on this because I want to compare some of the latest findings with maybe the year before. Here we can see from 2008 data that we have 3 of the healthiest counties in the state, but they're still in between. And Ballard even here is one of the healthiest counties in the state. But if we look at the next slide, next year, a little less healthy. We have some of our other counties, Marshall is also ranking less healthy. So we have some of our counties ranking a little less healthy, even though we were one of the healthiest in Ballard before. So
right. Yeah, it's
kind
not
of
the
maybe starting a trend,
exactly,
a trend that I wanted to kind of make a little bit, bring a little attention to, because might start to show an issue that we want to address early, address now with things like this bike ride, get people aware. So in the next slide, I wanted to point out physical inactivity again, basically kind of the same thing as sedentary lifestyle, but just zooming in on this area, this region, focusing, well, first off, physical inactivity, as Kaylene was pointing out, physical inactivity and obesity can lead to several different diseases, but it's also related to like healthcare expenditure, for circulatory system and things like that, blood flow in the heart.
Which then could lead to heart attack or stroke, if we, don't do something and start making a change.
Right, right. So that's a big one, we want to make sure that.
And we do see that in our region. We are the stroke belt, and we have high cardiovascular. We're seeing it in our children, even in our elementary. Some kids are not only having high blood pressure, but they are having a couple risk factors for cardiovascular.
Wow.
And then I want to explain my last few graphic slides. I just want to point out that they all are related to the county health rankings morbidity outcomes, and that's like illness in the community or disorders and different things that, disease in the community, like we were talking about cardiovascular disease. And so the next 3 slides are part of the ways that they figure the morbidity for the area or each county, I guess. And that the way they measure that is adults reporting their condition, like how they feel their condition was in the last 30 days before the survey. And before we even zoom in on the slides, and I was looking at these in the last 3 years, the morbidity conditions, reported in this area. And overall, most of our 8 counties in this region improved, except for I noticed, honestly, that Ballard was the only one not showing improvement in the last 3 years. So that's another thing we want to pay attention to. Just go ahead and notice that trend.
Right. Is there anything that jumped out that you saw that made Ballard rank less healthy?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to think about why that might be true. In this next slide, I was talking about the overall how these next slides work, but on this poor or fair health, we don't see it as much here. We can just kind of see how people reported, and they're not the healthiest, but most of our counties are just in that next range. But in the next slide, for poor physical health days, we see that Ballard is in the least healthy group. The adults were reporting that they felt they had poor physical health in the last 30 days. They're one of the least healthy, reporting most days that they felt poor physical health. And actually comparing, when I had looked back at the years before, they were actually reporting less healthy now than they had been. And then the last graphic slide I was wanting to point out was poor mental health days, because they also ranked least healthy, one of the least healthy counties in Kentucky, for reporting poor mental health days too. There's just, some real things we need to pay attention to in Ballard County. And I think that's why, just in general, the morbidity rankings were high.
If someone would want to look further into this and to understand a little bit better, are there certain sites they could go to?
Yes, actually, that's a great question. I went ahead in my last slide. I wanted to go ahead and provide.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that works. So, and I tried to put where I got the information at the bottom there: America's health rankings for the national comparison, and then county health rankings. You can see the websites there for the more local area. And there's so much more information, you know, that we didn't have time to delve into here. But
Sure.
and then last, I didn't really refer to this directly here in any slides or anything, but CDC has a wonderful section called Healthy Weight, and they speak about physical activity and even have a chart about give you an idea of how many calories you'll burn per types of exercise and physical activity when you're getting out there. And they had some great tips for parents too. And I could be wrong about this, but I think they had some really good recipes. I think that's where I was reading that. So, you know, some good healthy options.
Yeah.
So good, interesting sounding recipes.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what we need to do to, you know, educate ourselves on what can we do. You know, when you hear some information like this, it's like, boy, that doesn't make you feel real good about your home area, but then you look around, you can see the changes that have started. I know the school has done a lot. They, matter of fact, you gave out a lot of bikes last year, didn't you?
We did. That was due to the kind donation from a business family there in Ballard County. They gave 100 bicycles away at Christmas through our family resource program.
Wow.
And now that was primarily to children, but that's a start. We've got to get them. We've talked about this in the bike committee meetings, that we have to start, you know, you don't start football when you're in high school, you start it when you're, you know, pee-wee sized. And so that's one of the things we've talked about, is trying to build that culture from a younger age than we've been able to. And as you alluded to originally, kids don't ride their bikes to school anymore. We're not in a place where you could do that. Our schools are all right on Highway 60. So we're not in a place where we could do that. When I was a kid, our school was in town. So that was an easy transition to make.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to do, the bike ride over the course of the last couple of years with support from the Purchase District Health Department and the money that they've made from the folks who've come to the ride, we're going to be able to give $500 this year to kids at the Ballard County Fair who come with a Kids Day on July 20th. And the bike committee set aside $500 to give safety equipment away for kids who were going to ride their bikes, helmets, that kind of thing.
That's great.
Because that's important too. So, and as the ride grows, we hope to be able to do more of those things. The point of the exercise, again, no pun intended, from the very beginning has been to be able to give folks more healthy options for physical activity in Ballard County. So that's our first step. After the ride, that's our first step, is to do the safety equipment for the kids.
Sure.
Because we want to foster that from an early age too. I'm an 11-year-old daughter, and I've had a hard time getting her to wear a bike helmet. And that's just, you know, better for her to ride without it than not ride at all, but so much better with a helmet.
Absolutely.
Right.
I have had a crash or two and was very happy to have a helmet on. So
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one thing about Western Kentucky or Ballard County is just the beauty. You know, it's like we need to take advantage. We have beautiful countryside around here, you know. And I know I heard someone, before you had started this bike ride, I heard someone say, there is no place to ride a bike in Ballard. You know, and I thought, well, if you don't think a road system is you know, a place, what would you think of? You know. So it definitely, you know. Well,
and in the place where we are, I ride on country roads most of the time. For Wheels and Wings this year, we have our very first century ride, which is 100 miles. And that'll give you pretty much a tour of the entire county. It's not a very big place to start with, and so that'll give you pretty much a tour of the whole county. And that's going to use primarily state roads to get around. We'll also use some of the smaller county roads, which are typically where I go. Very low traffic, long lines of sight, mostly flat for beginner riders or duffer riders like me. And beautiful countryside for the most part. I mean, just gorgeous. The places where we went down around the game reserve, and we'll continue to do that. This ride formerly was Ride for the Refuge, and we'll continue to do that. We'll go down by the game reserve in Ballard County, and the 60 and 100 mile routes will go past the West Kentucky Wildlife Management Area, which is actually in McCracken County. So to get that 100 miles in, we have to kind of slip over the border just a little bit. But
that's all right. But even, you know, in that refuge area, it is just beautiful with the trees and
something different. I mean, it's and those of us who live down there are used to it. But it has one of the largest natural cypress stands anywhere other than Reelfoot Lake in Tennessee. Something different.
Absolutely.
Really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a time to really shine your county.
That's what we're hoping for. So
yeah. Now, how long has the bike ride been
this
going?
is only our 3rd year, and it's our 1st year to have a century ride or to have a 60-mile ride. When we were Ride for the Refuge, we had a 25 and a 50. And what we kept hearing from the riders who came were, gosh, let's have 100, let's have 100. And so that's what we decided to do. I have a couple of, the committee has expanded this year from Kaylene and a couple of other folks and myself. We have a better, larger, more functioning committee this year. And not that we weren't functional, but
excuse me. I thought it was good. No, I know what you mean. It has been.
Well, we have some riders. We have some long riders.
The more the merrier, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so we have a couple of long riders that have helped us map the routes, the longer routes, and they're pretty excited about all that. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing we did was try and institute a shorter route for families, for folks like us. And for families who want to bring younger riders. Kaylene and I went over to East Prairie, Missouri and rode the 15-mile route in the Tour des Cornes last year. That ride has 1,100 people who participate.
Oh my goodness.
And we came back, what did we say? We want this in Ballard.
Yes,
you know?
yes. I mean, it was just amazing. And there were a number of young people on that 15-mile ride. There, I mean, little bitty, you know, on the little bitty bicycles, like you see, you know, the ones like that were given away in this winter. So we were thinking if we went to a shorter route, and again, mostly flat, we're not going to, you know. We're not going to kill anybody. We're not going to kill anybody on the 15-mile ride.
Right.
So that was kind of our plan in getting a shorter route also. So we're hoping for a good crowd this year. The ride is May 4th, which is Derby Day. And there will be other things going on in Ballard County as well. If you come down and want to do other things, they're at the farmers market just outside of La Center. They're having Derby Days, and they'll have a number of vendors, some of whom are selling upcycled bicycle jewelry, I understand, because of the bike ride, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And out in Bandana, which is one of the places out in the northern part of the county, we'll go past Bandana. They're also having Bandana Days. We talked with the organizers to make sure we didn't run into the middle of their parade, so, or vice versa. So.
When those 1,100 people
yes.
ride through.
Yes,
we need the parade to be done. 1,100 come through.
We are hoping for at least 100 riders this time. And so this is last year I think was the 11th year for the Tour des Cornes. So we have 10 more years to get that other 1,000 riders.
That's right. But it's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get,
okay,
right?
So besides, there are some other changes though. With we have longer distance. What else? Where are some other changes?
We have moved the start and finish sites of the race. This will be, I hope, the 3rd and final time. 3 times a charm, I hope. The nice folks at the First Baptist Church in La Center are going to let us use their Family Life Center as a start and finish spot, and that will give folks a cool place to come in when they come in. Last year, the ride was in May last year, and it got hot on us. And
absolutely,
it would have been really nice. We were in a good spot, but it would have been really nice to have had some air conditioning and some chairs, comfortable chairs for folks to
those
sit
riders
in.
came in, and they, I mean, just dripping off them, and we thought, well, welcome to the warm room.
So that's this will be a better spot for all of that.
Good.
More parking, so we can get those 100 riders. We won't have any problem with that. And
plus, they have a beautiful kind of a park area
right across the street.
So nice shaded area. You can sit out in the cool grass, and
Sounds good.
So we're looking forward to that. We'll have rest stops every 12 or 15 miles on the longer routes. There'll probably just be one on the 15 and a couple on the 30, but we'll have them every 15 or 12 or 15 miles, and they'll be fully stocked. They'll have good snacks and
good energy food.
Yes, and Powerade or Gatorade or some sort of sports drink and water and whatever we need. We haven't worked up to the. Again, when we went over to Southeast Missouri last year, they had bands, they had all sorts of things, and we haven't quite worked up to that, but we'll get there. So, friendly people anyway, that we can promise. So,
absolutely,
that's important.
yeah. I think it's. I mean, you have it really, and the markings. I know the people commented were the road was well marked. I mean, we don't want to lose anyone. Right? We never saw them.
They went
3 days later, still haven't seen them. No, we want to see them, right? We want head count when they come back. Yeah.
We've had great support from the Ballard County Judge's Office and the Ballard County Road Department in helping us get that done, and we look forward to that again this year. And we'll have, of course, support trucks that'll follow in case anybody decides they can't make that 60 miles. We'll bring you back to the church and get you hydrated and fixed up and ready to go. So
yeah, and that brings up the question. I know you had talked about it, but are you going to have anything after the race as far as a meal, or is it just going to be rest stops?
This year, well, this year we're going to have some, when they get back to the church, we're going to have some things available. I was speaking with one of the committee members yesterday, and the idea of wheels and wings was to sort of draw back to Ballard County's waterfowl culture. That's kind of our other big deal, is waterfowl. The logo that we have this year is sort of a duck on a bicycle, because we're trying to incorporate that part of our world along with everything else. The bike committee member said he had talked to several potential riders, and they were excited by the prospect of having wings on the tour. So I'm thinking that we'll at least have wings somewhere. I don't know whether it'll be at the church or where we'll have them. And our homemakers group, our extension homemakers group, is going to have some additional food and refreshments there at the church when they come back. Haven't worked up to a full-scale meal yet, but we'll talk about that next year. One thing at a time. We're trying to build slowly so we can do it right. And
absolutely, yeah. And you don't want to get too, I don't know, too large, or where you can't handle it, and when the people come, you're not ready for it.
Exactly.
You know? So if you gradually get organized, year after year, I mean, you've doubled each year. Correct?
That's what we're hoping for this year. Yes, that's what we're hoping for this year. We started, of course, we had to move because of the horrible floods 3 years ago. Right. We had to move the date of the ride twice. All of our major routes were underwater.
Yeah, I can
so we had to kind of double back and do that. And so we had a small group the first year, which doubled for last year. We had 50 riders last year. We'll double again this year and get 100 riders. That'd just tickle the organizers to death, I think. So
absolutely, yeah.
Anything above that would be a bonus, I think.
And it's just exciting to think, a rural community, very rural, can show that we can do this.
Sure.
This is, very doable, and we're seeing more bikers on the road too. I would like to see, Ballard County get those signs,
yes.
Share the road. I mean, in every county in our river, I would love to see, more bikers on the road. So it's going to take kind of a culture change for people, because when you're driving down these curvy roads, bikers may not be the first thing on your mind, but after you see so many bikers on the road, you realize you are sharing the road. It's not just pickups on this
Sure.
road anymore. And so people will become more aware.
There are places in Ballard County now which are part of the Misaligned Minds tour that comes out of Bike World here in Paducah. And so there's a part of their route that comes through Ballard County, and there are a group of riders who come down every Saturday and come down into the Lovelesville area and back. And then there are other riders who are in the northern part of the county, which is where part of one of our routes will be. And so the folks along those roads tell me all the time, oh, I see bikers all the time. They're just not everywhere yet. And so
that's right, yet.
Yeah.
It's coming.
So we're working on that. We've had terrific support from Bike World also. They've been very helpful. They'll be there to help support the riders on this ride as well. They'll have light repairs and tubes and other things that morning if we need them. So can't say enough nice things about Martha.
Absolutely. They really have blazed the trail for the rest of the counties to kind of follow suit of all the great work that they've done in Paducah here.
Yes. So that's and they want to see that grow everywhere also. So that's and going back to your original points about the issues with obesity and morbidity and feeling bad, and having those bad mental health days. Exercise, as we all know, is a help for all of that. And anybody can ride a bike. I was much heavier than I am now when I started, and it's not like running. It's not hard on your joints and that sort of thing. So anybody can do that, even if it's a short distance. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I know, Brandi, what you had talked about, with the different slides and what we have, seen. Is there anything that you could see would be the highest concerns? Just be able to kind of sum up for all the slides that you talked about.
Right. Well, and actually, I'll mention the top two, probably, some of the main ones, especially related to what we're talking about today here, are, physical inactivity, like just not getting out there and being as active. But also, obesity, I've not only seen, you know, in some of the data gathering and all that, but some of the local community health assessments we've done. I mean, this is one of the main topics that comes up, and there are groups, you know, trying to work on that in some of the local counties.
The people are aware.
Right. They're aware that this is an issue.
They want to see a change.
Right,
you know.
exactly. And trying to find those, you know, resources and ways to make that happen, you know, make it more realistic. And then, again, like I said, physical inactivity, and that's, you know, kind of what we're talking about here today, ways to, this might be a good way to, good start on it.
Absolutely.
Hope so.
Now, and then you mentioned the county assessments. We are doing, that's coming up, that we are going to give the people in our counties an opportunity to voice their opinion. And we hope that a survey is going to be, we don't have the survey on this link yet, do we? How is that going to be set up?
That is definitely coming along. We're working with a group to make sure all the questions are ready, you know, to get all the link. We're going to have a web link and paper version of this, which we're trying to get everything in the process of getting everything set up, but it's coming. It's very soon, and
so
we're
this
going to be getting the word
will give an opportunity
out.
for people to fill a survey or you know, voice their opinion with circle groups. So
between that and the forums too. So
absolutely,
we'll be looking for it out there, and you know, hopefully these people want to participate and have their voice heard on that too. So some of these issues, and we can work together on them.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I thank both of you for coming, and I'm real excited about the bike ride in Ballard. There is another bike ride that I would like to also talk about, and that is Ride the Fault. And if you just go to www.ridethefault.com, you will get information on that. That is a 4-state bike ride, so that'll be coming up. So I hopefully you will take advantage of this, you know, opportunity to join the bike ride in Ballard or the bike ride in the Hickman area for Ride the Fault, and get your family involved with biking, because this is just so important, and it's a great sport for everyone to do, whether you have you know, a small child, you know, on up. It doesn't matter. Any child can go biking, and it just gives you an opportunity to enjoy the outdoors and just be together as a family. So thank you both for helping share this information. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the Health Department, 444-9625, extension 180, and we'd be, you know, happy to help you with any ideas, whether it's you know, ideas for what you can do with families, or you know, physical activity ideas, or even with weight concerns. So feel free to call us, and I'll see you at the bike ride.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.